What's up, guys, and welcome to my second mystery unboxing video. So I just got this package in the mail, and contained within this box could very well be my second best eBay gaming deal ever. The first one still being my Dreamcast broadband adapter. And like the broadband adapter, one of the main reasons I got this for such a good deal is because the seller just didn't know what they had. The second reason being that the seller actually listed this as non-working. Which I have a theory about that. I think it does work, but I'll tell you about that a bit later. But I got this for $10.50, so, and that's shipped, free shipping. So you definitely can't go wrong for that. If it's what I think it is, which I'm about 99% sure it is what I think it should be a really good deal. But regardless, for $10.50, I don't really lose much if it's not. So anyway, enough chit chat, let's get this thing open. So to open this thing up, I got my handy dandy sonic screwdriver. Alright, so now that we have the box open, let's see what we have inside. So as you can see, a bunch of packing popcorn here. Let's get that out and see what we have underneath at the gooey center, as it may be. And here we are. So as you can see here, this is indeed a Sega Dreamcast. Now at this point you may be asking yourself, what's so special about this Dreamcast? Looks like your normal, everyday, ordinary Dreamcast. Well, there are a few things that make this Dreamcast special and unique, and one of them is the Choo Choo Rocket stickers. Now, as cool as those may be, that's not really why I bought this Dreamcast. But let me show you the other unique features of this Dreamcast. So let's look underneath the Dreamcast here, and the first thing you'll notice is that this is a Japanese model Dreamcast, ntsc-j. And also this is a model HKT3010, which is the first revision of the Dreamcast in Japan. So this is a very early Dreamcast. And one thing that may be unique about this, but I'm not positive, is that this actually may be one of the Dreamcasts with a heat pipe cooling system in it. I'm not sure exactly what the advantage to that is, or disadvantage. I'm thinking that this actually may keep cooler than the other Dreamcasts that don't have that cooling system, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure really what the benefit or disadvantage of it is. Obviously they removed it in later models, so I don't know why, but yeah, that's might be an interesting thing about this Dreamcast, which it may or may not even have in the first place. But the second unique thing about this Dreamcast, if you look on the back here, is there's no modem, which is kind of interesting. I've seen other Dreamcasts that don't have a modem. Apparently they were released in areas where having internet, I guess, just wasn't very common or wasn't needed. I really don't know. There may be another reason why this isn't, there's no modem on it. Maybe this was a display model. I really don't know. But in its place here is just basically a fake. There's no actual hardware in this. It's just a placeholder. So yeah, it just goes in the slot and, you know, keeps it from having a empty space right there. But none of those features of this Dreamcast are the reason I actually bought it. The main reason I bought it is because of this. Yes, there is a toggle switch on this Dreamcast. Why is there a toggle switch on it, you may ask? Well, I'm pretty sure, about 99% sure I know what it's for, and that is partly thanks to a video by Adam Korlick that he recently did. He got a package from someone who sent him a free Dreamcast, and that Dreamcast also had a toggle switch. You can take a look at that video here. But the reason for the toggle switch is because, most likely because, someone installed a second BIOS chip into this Dreamcast. Now you may ask, why would they do that? Well, the BIOS chip in the Dreamcast controls what games you can play on it. Say for example, a US Dreamcast is only going to be able to play US games or North American games. A PAL Dreamcast is only going to play PAL region games, and Japanese Dreamcast is only going to play Japanese games. Well, the second BIOS chip that most likely has been installed in here is region free, meaning you can play games from any region, which is really cool. What that BIOS is actually, what I believe it is a modified version of the Katana Dev Kit BIOS, which is the developer's version of the Dreamcast. Well, actually, the pre-release, because obviously the Dreamcast was called the Katana before it was released. It was obviously called the Dreamcast after it was released. Yeah, but yeah, so that BIOS will be able to play any Dreamcast games from any region. The reason for the switch is to switch between the BIOS chips. So you can switch back to the default BIOS if you want. Now you may ask, why would you want to switch back to the regular one when the other one will play any game? Well, that's not entirely true. It won't play any game. It will not play burnt games, from what I hear anyway. So in order to play burnt games, you will need to switch back to the standard stock BIOS. But anyway, that's what I think this is. I'm 99% sure, but we're actually going to test this out and see. But as I said earlier, the seller actually said this was broken. To be more specific, he said it wouldn't read discs. He said it powered up, but it wouldn't read any discs. But I do have a theory about that, like I said. Since this is a Japanese Dreamcast, and it was being sold in the US, I believe the seller was most likely testing it out with North American games, which obviously wouldn't work unless he had it switched to the region-free BIOS, which is, it's possible that it still doesn't read discs, but if he had it switched to the stock BIOS, it wouldn't have read North American games. So that's my theory anyway. I'm hoping that's correct, but if not, not a huge deal. I can most likely swap out the laser in this with one of my other Dreamcasts, which wouldn't be a big deal. But anyway, let's get on to testing and see if this thing works, if it is what I think it is, and etc., etc. Alright, so as you can see here, I'm all set to test this thing out. I have the Dreamcast hooked up through my VGA box up to my monitor. I have a controller plugged in, and of course the power is plugged in as well. I also have a game from each region, including Shenmue for North America, a PAL game, Headhunter, and a Japanese game, F355 Challenge. So I don't know which side the switch is supposed to be on for stock or modified BIOS, so I'm just going to leave it on the leave it to the right, which is where it was when I got it, in order to test out my theory that the seller tried to test out North American games in it while on the stock BIOS. So if my theory is correct, to the right should be the stock BIOS. So in order to test that out, I'm going to test out the North American game, which is Shenmue. So open this up and grab the disc and pop it in here. Close the lid and power it up. So if my theory is correct, it shouldn't read the disc because it's the wrong region. But we'll see. Okay, it's asking for the date and time. Click out of that. And it is not doing anything apparently. Just says please insert game disc. Alright, so let's open this thing up. which the disk is actually still spinning, which is kind of strange. So there actually may be something wrong with this, because the disk is supposed to stop when you open the lid. But let's keep going with the test anyway, and go with the Japanese game, which in theory should boot up, but you never know. Power it up. Asking for the date again. Get out of that. Oh, and it is booting up, apparently. So my theory appears to be correct. I don't know why the disk didn't stop spinning when I opened the lid here, but it is booting up, which means this is indeed booting up in the stock BIOS, which would only accept Japanese games. It's just a bunch of notifications about the memory card here, or the VMU. I have no actual space on it. Yes, yes. But it does appear to be working, which means the disk drive is fine, because it reads Japanese games perfectly fine. So let's power this down again, and we are going to now switch over to the other side of the switch, which in theory should be the modified DevKit BIOS. Put this back in the case here. So we'll try out the North American game again, since that didn't work before. If this is indeed a modified Dreamcast, it should boot up fine. So let's see. It is actually the same boot up screen, which is surprising actually, because I thought it would boot up with the modified, or the DevKit boot up screen, which is actually slightly different. We'll see. No, it is actually not doing anything. It still won't read the disk apparently, which is kind of odd. But let's, just for kicks, let's try the PAL game. I mean, it is possible that this Dreamcast has been modified to play PAL and Japanese games, although that's kind of unusual, but it is possible, so we're going to test it out and see if that is in fact the case. Let's boot this up. Because otherwise, I really don't know what that switch would be for. No, it still doesn't appear to want to read the disk, which is really strange. So I'm actually going to have to look into this and see why the switch is in here. Once I do, I will update. Alright, so after opening up the Dreamcast and doing a bit of testing, I actually did figure out the purpose for the switch. But oddly enough, I'm even more baffled than ever, even though I did figure out what it's for. So let me show you what it actually does. When you turn the Dreamcast on here, go after the logo here. Cancel out of that. Alright, so now as you can see, we're at the main menu. I have Shenmue in there, which is the North American game, and it doesn't work because this is a Japanese Dreamcast. And it turns out this was not region modded in any way, which is disappointing. But it is kind of intriguing in a way because the Switch does something else, which is kind of strange, and I don't know why anyone would do this modification. But here it is anyway. I mean, you flip the switch, as you can see, the disc stopped. and if I switch it back, it spins up again. And as you can see, it's reading the disk. Basically what the switch is doing is it's emulating the lid. As you saw earlier, when I opened the lid, the disk didn't stop spinning. So basically they just replaced the lid, or the switch that the lid would normally trigger, with this toggle switch here. Why anyone would do that, I really don't know. If anyone knows why someone would do this modification, please let me know, because I would love to know why. But yeah, I mean, basically the Dreamcast that I thought would be a region-free Dreamcast turns out to be just a regular, ordinary Japanese Dreamcast with a switch that replaced the lid mechanism. You know, it's weird, but kind of interesting anyway. But I only paid $10.50, so even that for just a Japanese Dreamcast is a good deal. But another thing that, while I'm asking questions to the viewers out there, is this modem here, which I thought before was actually a placeholder. Turns out it actually does have some hardware in it. I don't know, because I took these two screws out, and it turns out there is actually a circuit board in here. What it's for, I really don't know. I mean, it would be awesome if this Dreamcast actually turned out to be some type of developer model, but I really do not know. So if anyone knows, please let me know. But anyway, guys, this has been a very interesting mystery unboxing. Turns out I have more questions than answers after this, but yeah, if you have the answers for me, please let me know. Otherwise, just comment, rate, subscribe, and thanks for watching.